Hello and welcome to Bitsbox World, Builds Made Easy. I've been making some walkways recently and these are so nice and easy and simple to make, and they look really good and they cost basically nothing. I've got some stirrers here, some sort of coffee shop stirrers. These ones here are from Costa and they're long but quite thin. And then these ones here are from McDonald's. They are my preferred ones. They're a bit thicker, but they're not as long. Both have their pros and cons, but as long as you're getting a cup of coffee or something, you might be picking some up to stir your drinks anyway. So I've got these wooden sticks. I love these wooden sticks. I use them for loads and loads of stuff when I'm making my builds, and they're so versatile. You can use them for loads of stuff. I'm gonna be making some quite low walkways. I was thinking that they could be used in maybe a swamp diorama or crossing a bog or something like that. So I want them to be quite low to the ground, so I'm going with a 3cm cut on these wooden sticks, and this will make the legs of my walkways. And then there'll be a center support as well, and because I've got my Warhammer fantasy models and I'm going to be doing some old world, I'm thinking probably a 4cm support in the middle will be big enough to hold and accommodate many models that might be going on it. I'm thinking archers or something might stand on it, or skirmishers, and they're usually going to be on 25mm bases, so 40mm should be sufficient. So because of the length of the stirrers that I'm going to be using, I'm going to make 3 supports for my walkway. So taking your 3mm stick, which will be one of your legs, you can mark off about 1 centimeter, and that just means that we're going to put the crossbeam at the same height on all of our legs. And what I tend to do is I glue the crossbeam with the bottom of the crossbeam being level with the mark that I've made. So with a bit of super glue and applying a bit of pressure and just waiting a couple of seconds, your crossbeam should stick. And then you can do the same with the other leg. Make a mark 1 centimeter high and then just glue it on. Whilst I'm waiting for that to glue, if you're new to the channel, why not comment below? Let me know what you think about the builds that I've been making, or maybe even think about subscribing. That would be great to have you as part of the community. Once glued, this then gives you your supports that are going to be taking the timbers or the planks that are going to be going onto your walkway. And just make sure as you're making your supports that they are all the same height, and that just means that when your planks are laid down and glued on, they sit nicely and they get supported at all 3 points from those cross sections. And it also means that there's no wobble in your boards either. No one likes a wobbly board. So glue them all together, and then you're ready to start thinking about getting your planks ready. So I'm going to be using these McDonald's stirrers, and I need 5 to cover my walkway for the 4 centimeters. These stirrers, they do come in a funny shape, so you can use clippers or a knife just to take off the funny angles on the edges, or just snap it, which is what I tend to do. Sometimes I like to use a frayed wood effect, and that gives it quite a nice effect when you snap it. But for these ones, I'm going to just make it a nice straight edge at the end, so you can just use your Stanley knife or something like that, just your craft knife, to cut off the loose ends. So prepare all your boards. So I'm going to need 5, as I said. And I'm going to try and make them all relatively the same length as well, because I want the walkway to be a bit neat, but it doesn't have to be super neat. And then I'm going to be using this tool. I use this tool when I'm doing some of my green stuff. It's sort of a nice spiky end to this tool, but you could do it with a screwdriver or something like that. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to drag it along the stirrer to just give it a bit of texture and make it look a little bit more like a wooden timber. This gives it some texture for your paint to grip onto when you come to paint it later, so it doesn't just have a flat feel. And you can see the difference between a stirrer here and the one that's been textured. So using a bit of super glue, I'm going to stick on my 2 timbers on the furthest edges of both sides, and this just gives me a starting place for starting to build my walkway. So you're going to have to probably have 3 hands for this. It gets a little bit challenging, but you can stick on your 4 angles at the edges, bit of super glue, and then you can make sure that it's all square and all straight, and then stick on your 3rd support after that. So I like to make sure that it's all square, that there's an even distance between all of my supports, and then you can start to glue on your other planks, making sure that there's a good space between each plank, that they're not too close, that you can see a bit of light through them. And if any of the planks end up coming up short, or they don't look quite right next to the others, because I wanted to go with a imperfect build for this one. I didn't want them all to be perfectly aligned and pristine. I wanted this to look a little bit weathered and worn. So all my planks are different sizes, but I'm going to stick on 4. And with the final plank, I'm going to give it a bit of character. So it does come up shorter than the others. So I'm just going to snap it. And that gives it a frayed edge, like it has been broken. Something heavy was obviously walking across it and went through the plank, or the plank was a bit rotten. And then I'm going to use the other piece that I snapped off and sort of make it look like they've tried to do a repair job just to cover the hole. And it gives your walkway a bit more character. So there we go. When it's dried and it's all square, doesn't have a wobble, it sits nice and evenly because we made all our measurements. And that's ready for you to paint up and make it look like a broken down, dilapidated walkway. And when you have a couple of them, you can start to see that it starts to build up a bit more character. And if you had 10 of these or so, then you could make a really good long walkway. Also, if you start to play with the height of your walkways, you can start to give it a bit more character, and you can use ramps. Nice and easy to do. Just have a short piece and a tall piece. If you are doing a tall piece, I tend to put a supporting brace across the bottom as well. It just helps it to keep the sticks glued on and also take any support at that higher level. And you simply want to glue a ramp between them. Now, I like my ramps to have a bit of character, So I'm only going to go with a 2 wide ramp. That will still hold your models, but depending on the game type that you're playing, you could put that as sort of a difficult space to cross, or a bit of a risky area for people to cross. And it just adds, using a bit of character in your build, adds a bit of storytelling as well to whatever game you're playing. And I think that looks pretty good when it's all glued together and dry. I'm also going to just make this look like it's had some fire damage as well. So the best way to make wood look like it's had some fire damage is to use fire. Now, make sure you've got a responsible person around when doing this, because you don't want to have any accidents with your fire, obviously. But once you've set the bit on fire, let it burn for a couple of seconds, and then just have a bit of water handy so you can put out any of the embers. So I'm just going to do on this high raised bit a bit of fire damage on the post, and also just one board here, like somebody's dropped a torch when they've got to this height, and it's just burnt the wood below in that corner. The boards do look pretty good when you do a bit of fire damage, and obviously make it as much as you like. You could do this in the center of one of your walkways if you wanted to have a bit of burning effect in the middle. So again, once you've blown it out, dip it in the water just to put out any of those embers. Make sure it's completely out, and then you get this authentic fire damaged effect. And I just scrape off any loose fragments there. So there we go, that's all of the walkways built. Let me know what you think about these. Is this techniques that you'll be using? And there you go, walkways done. All I need to do now is paint them up. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching Bits Bots World, builds made easy.